Paddington 2 is a simpering, hollow journey into the mediocrity of modern children's cinema and one of the most incredibly bland cases of sequelitis since Cars 2, and that's really saying something. It takes a lot for me to give up on a film, but at the 15-minute mark I was really struggling. I got a few recommendations from friends to continue, and continue I did, thus spending the next 90 minutes wanting to remove my eyes. Still, I dove deeper into this over-buttered comedy sandwich only to find that the amber marmalade that I had been led to believe was awaiting me had been replaced by the veritable squeezy cheese courtesy of Walmart that passes for a joke these days. Now, I will grant that the remainder of the film did not quite live up to the opening's pig swill, keg dreg, writer's strike-inducing humour vacuum, but I'll be damned if it got even a titter out of me before the now famous credit sequence, which in itself only served as a reminder of quite how much wasted potential the rest of the film might have had were it truly following in its prequel's footsteps. To address one of the film's highest points of acclaim, Hugh Grant did indeed manage to fulfill the basic premise of being an actor, and surely that makes him deserving of whatever godhood can be attributed to those humans that can portray more than a single character, but when those characters are utilised only in solo monologue, and so thoroughly swamped by his primary persona, an even hammier, charmless version of what is usually his forte, then he is hardly enough to save the film from being pure, pithy rind. The meat and potatoes of the film, neither of which belong in a marmalade sandwich, come in the forms of its narrative and comedy. The former of the two, the tired, pantomimey plotline, wholeheartedly fails to incite any kind of engagement or emotional attachment, but ultimately isn't the film's real problem. Paddington is not famous for his stories, nor the cleverness of his writing. Predictability isn't something that the character has historically shied away from, but he is famous for his sweet, innocent, and often poignant humour. In this film, there is none. Paddington 2 laughs in the face of comedy, almost literally, by bringing to the fore the mere cadence of a joke at every possible point where originality and premise might have had some real impact. It succeeds by bringing a chuckle or a smile to its audiences out of the mere idea that any real joke was intended, expected, or implied, and thus its humour ends up being about as charming and lovely as its overdone emotional climax. Hollow, forced, and utterly, utterly lazy. The jokes come quick and fast, but the content that might eke out a smile or a laugh has been entirely replaced by the simultaneous overcooking and underwriting of every other moment in this film. The marmalade is crispy and the bread both stale and wet. Ha! The Indian man called Paddington Puddington! Ha! Unhappy marriage jokes! Are we still doing those? Ah! Hugh Grant is self-absorbed. What a surprise. Classic. When the film's most entertaining and original moment comes in the form of a homage, and a poor one at that, it's not doing very well on the writing-directing front. Likely as a result of even this section having no real comedic moments, no plays on the format, and no real reason for being there, thus failing to copy the style of Wes Anderson entirely, this pastiche serves only as a reminder that the rest of the film appears to be a pastiche to a later event, where Paddington dresses up as a bin. Indeed, Hugh Grant's deliberately unfunny self-aggrandizements are a closer metaphor for this cack than any pastiche or tribute from this particular set of filmmakers might be to a genuinely good film. Providing the too thick bread to Paddington 2's already marmalade-less sandwich is an action scene finish, which of course Paddington is famous for, that not only brings fresh-baked loaves of unoriginality and passivity to the overall direction, but that closes out with the most disappointing revelation of all, that Paddington doesn't in fact drown, and that there might yet be a third film. I give this film just bread out of 10. That's probably somewhere around a 3. Biggest disappointment since Brexit.
Hello there, it's me. I appreciate that I say some fairly contentious stuff about film that not everyone's going to agree with. So as an alternative to you disliking the video or unsubscribing from the channel, I'm just going to take the liberty of putting myself directly into the trash on your behalf. I guess I'm just going to stay like this until the video ends. Still, it could be worse. At least I'm not lonely. Hello, Mr. Spielberg. Nice to see you again. Oh, JJ. Hello. I didn't know you were in here. Is Rian Johnson around? No, you've not seen him? Ah, alas. Must have just missed him. Darn.